Support for the local government news roundup comes from Rath Engineering Development, smarter systems for local government, like Red GMS, helping councils manage gravel pits and projects, track quality, test results, blending options and haulage, and know the true cost per tonne from day one. Rath Engineering Development can give you a one-off report that uses your existing pit data to pinpoint the best gravel sources for your next resheeting program or disaster restoration works, saving your council time and money. For local government systems built from real on-the-ground experience, talk to the team at Rath Engineering Development. Head to rathed.com.au to find out more. Coming up today, a shock council CEO resignation, a 2-month suspension for a Hobart councillor, a mayor calls out disrespect after a disrupted council meeting, a council special business levy challenged at VCAT, more councils reveal the impact of fuel costs on service delivery, the cost of a crackdown on homelessness, e-scooters and e-bikes pose challenges for more councils, plus we have acting CEO appointments and election results. That's all coming up on Australia's #1 local government podcast. Hello, I'm Chris Eddy, back with more news from and about councils across Australia and beyond. Brought to you with the support of our founding sponsor, the Victorian Local Governance Association, the national broadcaster on all things local government. From Symphony 3, simple, connected customer experiences. And from Rath Engineering Development, smarter local government systems built from real on-the-ground experience. Thank you for listening wherever you are in Australia or around the world. It's Friday the 24th of April 2026 and here are today's top 3 stories. Central Highlands Council CEO Aaron Johansson has resigned his position effective immediately. Mr Johansson joined the Queensland Council in January last year. He was previously the CEO of Goulburn Mulwaree Council and Charters Towers Regional Council. The council has appointed Gary Stevenson as interim CEO until mid-May and is starting recruitment for a permanent chief executive. Mr Johansson's resignation comes on the heels of Councillor Gay Cypher last month. A by-election to fill her position has been set for the 16th of May, with nominations being taken this week. A Hobart councillor has been suspended for 2 months after a conduct panel found several of her Facebook posts were offensive and disrespectful. Councillor Louise Elliott must also write an apology to the Lord Mayor's mother, Margaret Reynolds, within 2 weeks of returning to duties. The decision follows complaints from Lord Mayor Anna Reynolds, who said Councillor Elliott shared personal information about Reynolds' parents and made other political attacks online. The panel found the posts had no legitimate purpose. Its findings will be tabled at the council's meeting on Monday night. And in Victoria, the Borough of Queenscliff's Mayor Donny Grigor has called out disrespect from a small number of people in the public gallery at a council meeting this week. In a statement, Councillor Grigor said the meeting was disrupted when behaviour escalated during public question time, despite reminders about the council's governance rules. He has reiterated that verbal abuse and personal remarks towards councillors or staff will not be tolerated, and the council has a duty to keep meetings lawful, safe and dignified. And those are today's top 3 stories here on the Local Government News Roundup. Let's press on with more Victorian news. On Chapel Street in Melbourne, traders are heading to VCAT to challenge a special levy charged by Stonington Council. The Age reports that a group of 10 businesses is arguing the fee on top of rates is meant to promote and improve the precinct, but they believe it's being used for basics like street cleaning and graffiti removal. The public notice shows some properties pay up to $2,500 a year, and the scheme is forecast to raise about $5 million over 4.5 years. Traders say the strip is struggling with vacancies and safety concerns, and they want a bigger say in how that money is spent. Bayside City Council has dumped plans for a new mega kindergarten hub after a strong backlash from parents, according to The Age. The council voted to abandon a proposal to replace 2 community kinders with a 132-place children's centre at Castlefield Reserve. Families mounted a protest to the plans, and a petition was signed by 600 people in just 3 days. Council officers had argued the hub could unlock up to $9 million in state funding. A community campaign to keep the golden arches off Phillip Island is gaining major momentum. As reported by ABC News, a petition calling on Bass Coast Shire Council to reject a proposed McDonald's in Cowes has now surpassed 4,100 signatures. Opponents argue the fast food giant would damage the town's unique character and threaten local small businesses. While McDonald's says the development would create up to 200 local jobs, residents are urging councillors to prioritise environmental health and local identity over multinational expansion. Victorian residents are being warned of major service disruptions as local council workers prepare to strike on the day of the state budget. More than 1,000 workers from 8 Melbourne councils will walk off the job on the 5th of May. The ASU says the action follows years of wages falling behind the cost of living. The strike is expected to halt bin collections, library services and street cleaning. HR Leader reports that a temporary pause on work bans is in place to clear existing backlogs, but the union warns full industrial action will return if their demands for a fair pay rise aren't met. Brimbank City Council has welcomed a state government decision to extend free public transport until the end of May, with half-price fares to follow for the rest of the year. The council says it wrote to Victoria's Transport Minister calling for longer fare relief, more frequent and better connected bus services and safer cycling links. It argues communities like Brimbank are hit hardest when fuel prices rise because public transport options are limited and many people have no choice but to drive. Whittlesea City Council has named its replacement for departing CEO Craig Lloyd, at least for the time being. The council's Director of Infrastructure and Environment, Debbie Wood, will take up the acting CEO position from the 21st of next month. Ms Wood has been part of the council's executive team since 2020 and previously worked at Greater Bendigo, Casey and Hobart City Councils. Mr Lloyd is taking on the CEO role at the city of Joondalup in Perth from late May, and Whittlesea has commenced the process of finding his permanent replacement. And the City of Casey has secured new funding to help protect one of Melbourne's most threatened marsupials, the southern brown bandicoot. The council has received $4.46 million from the Victorian Government to build a 1.5-kilometre wildlife corridor linking key habitat from the Royal Botanic Gardens Cranbourne towards Browns Road and the Botanic Ridge Estate. Casey will add more than $418,000 and will lead revegetation works, planting about 200,000 Indigenous plants over 3 years from autumn 2027. In other news, the City of Port Phillip is proposing a local law amendment to introduce a time limit on how long caravans, boats and trailers can be parked on council land and roads. After more than 70% of the community supported the change in late 2025, the proposal has moved to the next stage and would limit these vehicles to 14 days in any 60-day period. Nominations are open for the second year of the MavLab Innovation Awards, showcasing and strengthening innovation across the sector. There are 13 categories, with submissions closing on the 24th of June. And in Shire, the community is being urged to come together next month for a candlelight vigil against family violence. The vigil will be held on May 6th from 6 p.m. at the West Gippsland Arts Centre. The building will be lit purple as part of Domestic Violence Prevention Month. It's the Local Government News Roundup for Friday the 24th of April, edition number 578. Into New South Wales now for more news. Regional mayors in the state say a national fuel crunch is turning into a local budget emergency, which households could end up paying for, according to the Daily Telegraph. Lismore Mayor Steve Krieg, the chair of Regional Cities New South Wales, and Albury Mayor Kevin Mack say soaring fuel costs are driving up everything councils do, from road repairs to water treatment and emergency response. In Albury, Councillor Mack says fleet costs have tripled, leaving a $20 million hole, and a special rate rise of up to 40% is now being floated. The group wants the state budget to fund transport subsidies, roads and housing. Maitland City Council is bracing for a massive budget hit too, with rising diesel prices potentially adding $100,000 a month to its operating costs. As reported by the Newcastle Herald, the figure was revealed during a heated council meeting where a push to rapidly transition the city's fleet to electric vehicles was rejected. While supporters argued the move would protect the council from global fuel shortages, opponents labelled the plan a costly chase for net zero goals that would burden ratepayers. Ultimately, councillors voted to stick with their current strategy, opting to reduce fuel reliance only where it's deemed financially prudent. Now, Byron Shire has a new face in the council chambers. Bangalow local Peter Doherty has been officially elected to the Byron Shire Council following a countback. Doherty fills the vacancy left by former councillor Azrin Pugh, who resigned in March. Mayor Sarah NJ welcomed the news, stating that Mr Doherty's previous experience as a regular in the public gallery will serve him well. He's expected to take his oath of office ahead of his first official meeting next Thursday. Manly's historic town hall may soon have a new lease on life as a cultural centrepiece. Northern Beaches Council has resolved to investigate a new path forward for the 87-year-old landmark after a feasibility study found that a council-run performance space would be too costly. Instead, the council is now exploring an expression of interest process to attract private sector partners. The goal is to transform the building into a vibrant entertainment and performance hub without financial risk to the community. In Sydney's east, Randwick Council is proposing tougher rules for shared e-bikes after a surge in use and a spike in complaints. Its plan would create mandatory parking areas and no-go zones. The council says e-bike trips have more than tripled in 2 years, from about 190,000 in 2024 to more than 628,000 last year. And the Daily Telegraph reports that Waverley Council is calling for more power and money to deal with a rapid increase in the number of shared e-bikes. Councillors have voted to lodge a submission to a draft Transport for New South Wales policy and to spend about $20,000 on more dedicated parking bays. Bega Valley Council is urging the New South Wales Government to rethink proposed changes to Crown land management. Mayor Russell Fitzpatrick says the proposals would shift costs and legal risk to councils, including new liabilities and compliance duties, without extra funding. He warns regional councils already under pressure could face retrospective financial and legal exposure, including around native title. The state says it has deferred consideration of the bill to allow more engagement with stakeholders. And North Sydney Council is urging residents to think about car sharing as parking gets tighter and household costs rise. The council says one shared car can replace several privately owned vehicles, freeing up curbside space for locals and customers. Under its car share policy, new dedicated bays are assessed case by case with consultation for nearby homes and businesses. The council argues the payoff is fewer cars circling for a park, less congestion and fewer emissions, and it's pitching car share as a practical middle ground. Also in the news, the city of Parramatta is trialling monthly night markets at Boronia Park for 1 year, with the first one set for tonight. Lord Mayor Martin Zeta says the markets are meant to build local pride and give small businesses a boost as the suburb grows. Wagga Wagga is betting on food and farm experiences to bring in new visitors and new income for local businesses. The City Council has launched Second Season, a 2-year program to help agritourism and hospitality operators develop visitor experiences, with training and one-on-one mentoring included. And Clarence Valley Council has been recognised on the national stage for its innovative approach to wildlife conservation. The council took home a Granicus Digital Government Award for its Koalas in the Clarence program, using a live interactive map to allow residents to become citizen scientists by reporting koala sightings in real time. Heading to Queensland next, and in Mackay, a council crackdown on homelessness and antisocial behaviour along the riverfront has cost more than $200,000, according to the Courier Mail. And the council is now asking the Queensland Government for help to cover the bill. The months-long action plan included daily cleanups, repairs to vandalised infrastructure and security upgrades, alongside police and state support services. Mayor Greg Williamson said the approach combined outreach and enforcement and that the number of people regularly sleeping rough along the riverfront has fallen from about 34 to around 13. Fraser Coast councillor Lachlan Cosgrove has been appointed Deputy Mayor, chosen by colleagues at this week's council meeting to replace Sarah Diana Farage, who served for the past year in the role. Councillor Cosgrove was first elected in 2024. Meanwhile, the council is setting out a long-term plan for how the region will manage cemeteries and memorial services as its population grows. It's voted to begin a community facilities strategy, looking at everything from extending the life of existing cemeteries to identifying future sites. Spokesperson Councillor Michelle Govers says the aim is a respectful, accessible and financially sustainable approach for families while giving people more choice. On the Cassowary Coast, the council is drafting its first disability inclusion and accessibility plan, a roadmap for how public spaces, events and services can work better for people with disability. The council says the region has a higher than average disability population, and community feedback has flagged inclusion as an area that needs attention. To Tasmania, the city of Launceston has confirmed that it has no plans to scrap e-scooters despite a move this week by Hobart City Council to ban the devices over safety and legal concerns. As reported by the Mercury, Launceston officials say they'll continue to support the program, which has seen more than 227,000 trips since its launch. While Hobart is looking to pivot towards e-bike programs, Launceston says its commercial partnerships with Beam and Neuron remain permanent. A council spokesperson says while they continue to monitor rider behaviour and compliance, the scooters provide a popular transport option with no direct cost to local ratepayers. Circular Head Council is taking a stand on regional isolation, armed with new data showing a desperate need for public transport. As reported by The Advocate, a recent community survey revealed that while most residents want to use public services, the options simply don't exist. General Manager Paul Gardner says the lack of transport is creating inequity for the rural community, making simple trips for work or medical care a major challenge. And the Mayor Gerard Blizzard says the council is now using these facts to lobby state and federal governments for a reliable local bus service or regional links to Burnie and Wynyard. To South Australia and in Adelaide's south, Onkaparinga Council is facing fresh warnings about its finances, according to Adelaide Now, as it releases a draft budget. Councillor Marin Themiliotis says a headline surplus of about $39,000 masks an underlying operating deficit of more than $367,000 once money for renewing assets is stripped out. The council says its accounting follows local government standards, but it admits the structural picture can be hard to see. The budget includes a proposed 3.3% rate rise and forecasts borrowings rising to $129 million by mid-2027. Kangaroo Island's aviation capabilities have reached new heights following the successful landing of a premium Embraer Legacy 600 charter jet at the local airport. The arrival of the $30 million aircraft marks a significant milestone for the region's tourism industry, proving the island can now accommodate large-scale, high-end private charters. Mayor Michael Pengilly says the successful landing is testament to the recent multi-million-dollar airport upgrades. And a senior executive note out of Western Australia, the City of South Perth has extended the appointment of its acting CEO Anita Amprimo, while its substantive CEO Liz Ledger remains on personal leave. The minutes of a confidential session last week have been released, showing that Ms Amprimo's appointment has been extended for the duration of the CEO's absence, up to 12 months, or until alternative arrangements are made by the council. And some stories of interest from overseas to wrap up this edition of the Roundup now. We'll start in the UK, where the Local Government Association is warning that new planning reforms risk undermining local democracy. The government's proposed changes, released as part of the Planning and Infrastructure Act, aim to speed up house building by introducing mandatory delegation of decisions and capping the size of planning committees. However, the LGA argues that these top-down rules could create administrative bottlenecks and bypass community voices. Where have we heard this before? LGA Vice Chair Carl Cashman says councils must retain the power to make arrangements that suit their specific local needs. The association is urging the government to work more closely with planning teams to ensure efficiency doesn't come at the cost of local oversight. There's mounting concern in Cornwall over plans to bring back a weed killer that the local council stopped using a decade ago. Cornwall Council wants to reintroduce glyphosate from next month, according to BBC News, but in a diluted, targeted way. But residents and councillors are raising questions about health and environmental impacts, and they say towns and villages haven't been given enough time to decide whether to opt out. In Canada, a Toronto councillor is asking taxpayers to foot the bill for his legal defence after being found in violation of the city's code of conduct. The Integrity Commissioner recently ruled that Councillor Chris Moyes acted in a derogatory manner during a heated exchange with a constituent last year. While the Commissioner did not recommend a formal penalty, Moyes has now submitted a request for the city to reimburse his legal fees incurred during the investigation. Moyes has maintained he was responding to persistent provocation and has expressed no regrets over the incident. CTV News reported that the City Council is expected to weigh in on the reimbursement request at an upcoming meeting. Ottawa's mayor is pushing back against the idea of the municipal government entering the grocery business. As reported by CTV News, Mayor Mark Sutcliffe says city-owned grocery stores are not a good idea, arguing the public sector shouldn't compete with private retailers. The comments follow a proposal from Councillor Marty Carr to explore a municipal food strategy to tackle food insecurity. While the council has agreed to develop a food strategy, they've ultimately voted to remove the option of city-run stores from the study. In New Zealand, the local government minister is demanding answers from the Kaipara District Council after it voted to withdraw from a proposed Northland-wide local government overhaul. The reform, which had the initial support of all 4 Northland councils, aimed to streamline services across the region. However, RNZ reports that Kaipara councillors have now balked at the plan, citing concerns over a loss of local voice and decision-making power. Minister Simon Watt says he's disappointed by the sudden change of heart and has requested an urgent briefing to understand the council's pivot away from the regional collaboration. To South America and in Guyana, Georgetown Mayor Alfred Mentor says the national government is trying to take control of the capital without holding local elections. The mayor says the People's Progressive Party wants to, quote, rescue the city while starving City Hall of money and resources. He's pointed to garbage trucks being delivered to other councils while Georgetown gets none, and says the city's annual grant is tied to conditions as ministers try to dictate what the council can do. The City Council says it will fight the plans in court, including over control of streets and city facilities, according to newssourcegy.com. And finally, they say the first few weeks at a new job are always the hardest. But the new city administrator of a small Texas city really got the emergency treatment. According to the Star-Telegram, just 5 weeks into the job, Joe Ashton found himself the subject of a 911 call placed by Hazlitt City's mayor, Gary Halsey. The crime? A disagreement over who gets to set the city council agenda. When Ashton politely refused to leave the room, the mayor called in the sheriff to settle the score. The responding deputy noted there was no actual fight, just a very unorthodox way of handling an office argument. The sheriff eventually ruled the mayor didn't have the authority to kick Ashton out. It seems in Hazlitt, the only thing on the agenda now is a bit of awkward small talk at the water cooler. Just when you think you've heard everything, that is the latest from the Local Government News Roundup, edition number 578, recorded on the morning of Friday the 24th of April 2026. If you have any comments or feedback or story ideas for future editions, you can email me at chris@lgnewsroundup.com. And you can find out more about this episode, including all the story links, by heading to lgnewsroundup.com. Our podcast is brought to you with the support of the Victorian Local Governance Association, our principal sponsor and the national broadcaster on all things local government. With support from Symphony 3, simple connected customer experiences, and Rath Engineering Development, smarter local government systems like Red GMS, built from real on-the-ground experience. And thank you to those who help make the podcast possible by supporting us through a monthly subscription. Support starts at $3 per month, around $5 Australian, and you can cancel your subscription at any time. Thank you to those who do subscribe already. Your support is greatly appreciated. The local government news roundup is recorded in the city of Greater Geelong, Victoria, on the land of the Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nation. I hope you have a great Anzac Day long weekend. We'll be back with more news next week here on the Local Government News Roundup. Until then, thanks for listening and bye for now. Support for the Roundup comes from Symphony 3, allowing councils to connect their systems securely, to automate their data flows and to monitor performance in real time. And right now, councils are lining up for their own emergency dashboard, like the one that Symphony 3 has created for the city of Greater Bendigo. The dashboard helps keep the community safe and prepared before, during and after emergencies. It pulls together live data, including weather data, traffic data, emergency incidents, unplanned and planned disruptions, news and social media feeds. Visit www.symphony3.com to learn how you can get an emergency dashboard for your community.